funeral is one thing, but at the same time, he was not even going to be able to. Having no funeral is one thing, but at the same time, let me adjust this thing a little bit. I think it's good. Having no funeral is one thing, but at the same time, he was not. His birds were going to eat his flesh off of his body. So he's going to die in the most ignominious way, right? Like a reproach, right? He must have been thinking about, I don't know what he had done, I don't know what his life was about. But, I don't know, okay? So, the Bible said that in 3 days, Pharaoh had a feast, and he was celebrating, and all of a sudden he said, oh, the butler, go bring that man over here, I need him over here to serve me my wine. And the butler must have been saying to him, he said, yeah, we come for you. Then when the next thing he said, that, and that baker there, go hang him for me, and leave him out there, his body out there. You can imagine how terrified he was when they came for him, knowing that his 3 days were not the same 3 days with the butler. But one thing is really consistent in Scripture, that 3 is a sign. 3 is a sign with God. Always, 3 is a sign. God showed me Revelation, and he showed me it 3 times. And it's the same thing, 3 times. I mean 3 things. It was showing me something. But in truth and in fact, when he was showing me that person in the dream, it was not that person. Okay? And that thing bothered me for a while. I wrote about these things, right? And then I said that night when somebody came to the church and asked for a certain sister, and the Lord said to me, that is the sister who the dream is for, not this one who you dream. Right? Some people, because they don't know anything about these things, because I've been dreaming from I was even 20 years old and seen things happen, right? Serious things too, right? And they try to contradict me, whatever, but when my word came to pass, they were so embarrassed they couldn't even speak. They couldn't even say a word to me. Okay? What could they say? Right? What could they say? Right? So, but as I said, dreams sometimes come in symbols. You know, sometimes you could see somebody in a dream, and it's not even that person who the dream is for. It's somebody else. Okay? 3 is a sign with God. And if you've seen a dream and it's dreaming 3 times, especially, as I said to you, 3 times, just like as you see this way, then it's something you should pay attention to. Okay? As I said to you, but be very careful of dreams, because the devil works with dreams too. Okay? You're supposed to know yourself. Okay? And know things. For example, as I said, the devil, if you know somebody very well, and you know that person, to understand that person is a God-fearing person, right? Sometimes the devil will make you dream something that will cause you and the person to break up. And you are silly enough to believe the dream, and don't relate the dream to reality. You see what I'm trying to say? Yes, you must relate your dream to reality. Relate your dream to reality. Because sometimes it would be a trap that the devil is putting you into. Right? So you see some people, they and this person getting on very well, and the devil puts something around them, and they figure that person don't like me, and that person is a betrayer, and the person whatever. And all of a sudden you start to act a certain way with that person, and the person doesn't have a clue what's going on. And you eventually create a problem where there is no problem. Okay? You could have a dream that you are doing things which, okay, yeah, I'm going to have a dream, say I'm in the club, I'm going to have a dream that I'm in bed with some woman doing whatever, and so forth. And I'm having this dream. And the devil is leading you on to something. Okay? Leading you on to something. But in your heart, you know that you're not like that. You don't live that way. You never have an interest in those things. Okay? But the devil is leading you on to something. As I said to you, don't believe everything that you dream. Okay? And as we said here, what did Joseph say to the man? He said, do not interpretation belong to God? You might need a revelation for the dream. Okay? In Abraham's case, with the dream that he had when he made the sacrifice, he knew something was wrong because of how the dream came upon him. He said, I don't feel good. What's going on here? Right? But then, God revealed to him what it meant. And the dream was not for him, but for his children. All of these things happen. Right? So, in the case of Nebuchadnezzar, with his dream, and we spoke about it, that Nebuchadnezzar had a concern about his kingdom and the dynasty, how long it would last. Right? I think Solomon talked about how man of a kingdom and he leave it to his son, and his son is a fool. And then, you know, and exactly that happened to him because his son was exactly like a fool. Right? A fool. I mean, his dynasty inherited from, and the people asked him to, you know, some reprieve from the taxes his father put on him. He tell them, oh, my father chastised with whip, and my chastised with a scorpion, and my little finger shall be taken on my father's land. And his people were mad. They said, what? And people look at, did you hear what he just said? Okay? So, they rebelled and went away. Said, oh, no, this is not going to happen. Okay, and they got somebody else as king, was Jeroboam. Right? And Jeroboam made Israel to sin. Okay, but let's get off of that for a while. But I'm just saying to you that Nebuchadnezzar concerned about his dynasty. And all of these rulers, they're concerned about their children. What is their children what is going to happen in the future? They're looking down the line. But they are not looking unto God's order. They're not looking to heaven. They're not looking into the prophecies of the kingdom. Even in Israel today, I listen to the Israel news all the while. I don't hear these leaders talking about the prophecy. They are blind to it. All they're concerned about is just like, well, things will just continue, not knowing that the bottom of this bucket is going to fall out. Okay? One day it won't be able to carry any water. It will be useless. And you understand I'm speaking in parable now. So Nebuchadnezzar didn't know God. He didn't know about the true and living God. But God saw that he was concerned about what is going to happen to his kingdom. He said, let me tell him. He didn't tell Daniel enough. Let me tell him what's going to happen with his dream. What's going to happen. And so he had a dream. He woke up very troubled. As I said, sometimes I remember one time, I got robbed by a pickpocket on the bus. And it was after the incident, I was standing on the street. And I said, wow, that's the reason why I had that dream. But I didn't remember anything about it. You see? And sometimes these things happen. And you don't remember until something happened. You say, well, you know, that's the reason why I had that dream. I said, okay. That's okay. Right? But as I said to you, interpretations belong to God. And dreams, devils are playing in your dreams too. Okay? And don't believe that everything that you dream will become a reality. And also, you might want that dream to come to pass. But God doesn't want it to come to pass either. You see what I'm saying? Because that dream that you want to come to pass might not end up well for you with eternity. I say that because, for example, when God had told Isaiah to tell Hezekiah he was going to die, Hezekiah started to bawl like a baby. He said, set your house in order, you shall surely die. He started to bawl. He said, Lord, you know, I've been faithful, I've been this, whatever. What is all of that all about? Why is that necessary to tell God, recommend yourself to him? Does he know you better than you yourself? Or you know yourself better than him? Alright, this is not necessary. He said, set your house in order, you shall surely die. You are fortunate. Because a lot of people don't get the chance to set their house in order. They just die like this. Tragically sometimes. You know. And terrible. And horrific death. But he started complaining that he wanted, and God said, okay, tell him afterward I give him 15 more years. If you know the story, his life ended in disgrace. So he could have gone out, you know, like the man who is playing cricket or whatever, as it were, he would go out with, celebrated that he did well. But then he went out now in disgrace, you know. And so it was. And God didn't want him to leave earth that way. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Because the same prophet had to come back now and rebuke him. He said, but you have not honored God. After God gave you that opportunity, you showed ingratitude. So I'm saying to you, sometimes you have a dream and you would want this dream to come to pass. But God knows that it will not end up well for you. So you say, well, yeah, I want to go to college. I want to be this and I want to be that. And when you go there, you know that story the man told about he went to the college, and when he came back he told his mother, I've been hearing from a child that this thing you telling me about God, there is no God. I mean, these things are not real. You telling me about, I heard about this God. You can't see him. You can't feel nothing. I mean, you tell me about this God. How did he get into this position? Because he wanted to go to a college where he could get all this education. Now he turned out about to be an atheist. He don't believe in God. Okay? And so all of his knowledge of God had been sapped out of him and been replaced with atheism and Satanism or whatever and all these kind of things. You know, because when God would save us, you know, he has to keep us away from certain things. You know, I mean, the Bible says evil communication corrupt good manners. Right? That's what Ephesians 4, I think it is. And if you want your children to grow up well, you have to keep them from certain things. And it's the same thing that God does. He keeps us from certain things that will corrupt us and make it literally impossible for us to get to eternity and to the kingdom of God. Because we're going to get tied up in some things which like come like a web when a spider's in the, when the spider has that fly or cockroach or whatever, and it can't come out. The more you try to twitch, it can't come out. The more you move is the more you tie up yourself into it. Right? And the devil laughs. So don't believe that because you have a dream and you say, well, so and so, then it has to become true. Because God himself, as I said to you, Joseph had his dream, the devil was standing in the way, he kept him down, his dream wouldn't come true, but his dreams were of God. And he had to be faithful in all of those situations until God raised him up. Okay? Now you also know the story that, alright, I think it was after a year after he interpreted those dreams, that the man was in, Pharaoh had the dream with the 7 fat kine and the 7 scrawny looking cows and 7 years of corn that looked well and fat, and another one that blasted with the east wind. He said, then Yeah, when he remembered, he said, hold on, hey, Pharaoh, you're in trouble, but there's a man in the prison who can help you. And the prison, he sent for him. And when he came, he was standing before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh asked him, let me go back to that scripture because I don't know why I mentioned it before. I think that might have been Genesis chapter 40. Yes, it said here, it was 2 years after when he was promoted back to being the butler that he came, Pharaoh had a dream. And he said, then verse 14, then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto him, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee, that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto him, in my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat flesh, and well flavored, and they fed in the meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored, and famished, such as I never seen in all the land of Egypt for badness. It looks so terrible. It's scrawny looking stuff, animals. And the lean and the ill-favored kind did eat up the first seven fat kine. And Pharaoh is astonished. But he said, what made it worse, he said, when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as at the beginning. So they put on no weight and nothing after they eat them up. And Pharaoh is astonished. So, but how could this be? Right? And I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up upon one stalk, full and good, and behold, 7 ears withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it unto me. So, he's saying that, and as I said to you, when you have certain dreams, you know that something is in it. Right? You know something is in it. And he's saying, but what is it? Okay? What could this mean? And so he asked Joseph, and Joseph said to him, okay, and Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God has showed Pharaoh what he's about to do. So it's something that's going to happen. It's not going to happen too long in the far distant future, as my parents would say. The 7 good kine are 7 years. The 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is 1. 7, 7. You know, 7 is God's number, right? And the 7th and ill-favored kind that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7th empty bars, ears blast with the east wind, which shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, He's showing to Pharaoh. Right? Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty that shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt. And the famine shall consume the land, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine falling, for it shall be very grievous. Now how did Pharaoh could ever figure out something like that? But in his spirit something told him that he was an ungodly person, that something not right here. Could this be, what does this mean for my kingdom? And these men, they can't sleep. Now, and this is how God would have it, that this is when the one who survived, that's the butler, would jump up and say, oh, I didn't do the right thing because I didn't even do what the man told me to do. I've been here having a good time and I didn't even remember him. But this was just God's appointed time for him to remember it. So here was Joseph now. When Pharaoh, he told him, he said, search for a man who is wise and discreet. You know, I like this verse and I like to read it. I'm just read it. It said here, the next verse, the verse 32. And he said, for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. Right? I remember Shakespeare used that thing where he said called a double superlative. He said it was doubled, and he said twice. Right? And he's doubling up. To show you, he said, it is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look for a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. And let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 years, and let them gather all the food for those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for a store in the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? He said, Pharaoh said unto him, to Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. You shall be over my house. And according to thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thee. And he promoted him right there. He said, you're telling me if I find a man who is as discreet and wise? Where am I going to find another man more discreet and wise than you? If you can tell me all of this, then where am I going to find somebody else? He said, you. And so Joseph's life just spun around just like that. I know a lot of people like this story because they're thinking about, well, you know, you have a dream, this, whatever, and God is going to make you to be a governor or whatever. As I said to you, no. Okay, it wasn't about that. Because Joseph did not know that things were going to turn out this way for him. But Joseph maintained his integrity as lived for God through all of this and after that. Okay, and all of these things happened within the 7 years of plenty, then the 7 years of famine, coming up, 14 years. Okay, so Joseph saw his life in dreams ahead before when he was young, saw it fulfilled and saw it benefit the children of Israel. And it was that part of his dream that started the dream of Abraham, when the Bible said that his children would be afflicted in a land. That horror of darkness that came upon Abraham, when he saw that they were afflicted, it all started there. Because it was because of the famine, right, that Pharaoh came out of Pharaoh's dream, which Joseph interpreted, okay, why Israel went down into the land of Egypt. Okay? And so Abraham's dream got in motion. But Abraham is in the grave. Are you with me? And so Abraham's dream now gets in motion because of Pharaoh's, because of Joseph's dream, because Joseph's dream got him in trouble while he got Egypt, and now it spills over into Pharaoh's dream, right? And then now it gets Abraham's dream in motion that Abraham had, right, while he was alive, and Abraham is dead and gone. Okay, you see what I'm talking about, right? And then Abraham's dream now is going to go on for 400 years, right? And eventually they will come back out. So Abraham's dream was before Joseph, and it outlives Joseph's dreams, right? That's why I said Joseph's dream was more about his own life. But when we get into Daniel So I'm saying to you that Abraham's dream was more prophetic, okay, from his time going into 400 years, right, which started in Joseph's time, and then after that, going into Moses, right, which would take them into the land of Canaan. Okay, so they went into the land of Canaan, and they're disobedient, they rebel against God, and now they're in captivity. And and they want to know now, like, what's going to happen to them. There was Jeremiah the prophet who what would happen to them. But Jeremiah prophesied about this. Prophecies is the 2 Chronicles chapter 36 right at the end. I think it's also in Ezra chapter, and 2 Kings, the last chapter there, right? So 70 years they would accomplish there, and in that 70 years, you find that Daniel is in Babylon, and Daniel becomes a great interpreter of dreams, and Daniel also himself had dreams, okay, that saw what was going to happen in his time right down to the end of time into eternity, okay. So this is how God works with his children, okay. We don't have Joseph having other dreams which are that significant, but I'm pretty sure he must have had other dreams, because if he's a dreamer, he's going to always be dreaming things, right? He told his virgin that about their sheaves bow down to him. And one day when he was there, he was looking and he said like, am I seeing right? Oh, okay. And his virgin coming, and of course, everybody had to bow down and say, bow down. He said nothing to them, right? He saw his dream fulfilled right before his very eyes. By the time his virgin found out, the dream already fulfilled. They couldn't go about it anymore. They couldn't say, well, like, oh, we're not going to bow down. Okay? And Joseph didn't ask for them to bow down, but that's what Pharaoh said. They have to bow before him. So, you know, he was not an ungodly person to ask people to bow down to him, but that's what Pharaoh said. You see, so Joseph got into this whole thing, and his life was changed around that Bible. So when he had Manasseh's first son, he said, but I can't believe this. God made me to be fruitful in a land where I was nothing. Okay? And you might think that that's a grand thing, but Joseph, as I said, looked for eternity. He was a disciple of, he was a second disciple of Christ. And he told his brethren, he said, I'm going to die. But when you leave here, don't leave my bones here, because I don't belong here. Okay, I don't belong here. Okay, so he looked for the end when God would redeem them, as God told Abraham. Right? He said, your children will be suffering down here, but I'm going to take them out. Okay, no doubt Joseph had heard about that. Okay, because we know it, why would he not know it? Right? And the same family coming down the generation, saying that when the time comes, where God is going to restore and bring you out, okay, now you're down here, take my bones with you, and don't leave me down here. Don't leave my sepulchre, don't leave my casket down here. But you know what happened in Israel, that they went down there and they started to feel comfortable in Egypt. And if God didn't bring that slavery thing upon them, they wouldn't want to go home. You see, they wouldn't want to go back to the land which they belong. And the dream that God told Pharaoh, Jacob, he said, what did he tell him? He said, I will be with you, right? In thee and thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. He said, I'll bring you back to this place. So he took him to Egypt, to Syria, and he brought him back, right? And there he had his children. Now, because of the famine, they go down there, and he said, I have constantly make a trip, go down and come back. Joseph said, just come down here, man, and done. Just come down here and done. But Joseph knows that they don't belong there. Right? But all of these things that were Joseph's dreams, right,